Hello, everybody. Welcome to the talk about Experimental Fermentations Center Network by Frantisek. So please greet him and enjoy the talk.
Thank you very much. Hello. Thanks for coming. Because of the very lively night yesterday, full of rakia, cider, and beer, I will be kind of relaxed, still trying to recover. This presentation I did on the CCC camp this summer and at the MRMCD last weekend. So this is the third time. So I hope I'm finally getting into the shape. This one is basically about what I want to do in Europe in the next several years, starting as soon as possible, within a month. And you see the title, Experimental Fermentation Network. Personal introduction for the ones who don't know me yet. My name is Frantisek Apfelbeck. I use Algoldor in the computer world, so Frantisek Algoldor Apfelbeck. My background is Czech, so former Czechoslovakia, now Czech Republic. I have education in biotechnology, genetic engineering, and I was working for several years in the academy, let's say, departments in Czech Republic, Holland, Ireland. I left later on, started to travel around the world and got involved with sustainable development and especially with the slow food and later on with fermentation. So actually I did already fermentation in the academy, but later on I came back to it again and I focus on food and beverage fermentation. I got involved with the hackers around 2009, 2010 in San Francisco, in California, in Noisebridge, through the Linux groups, which I was already kind of, in touch for several years. We were, in that time, preparing a project of multimedia center, actually, in a way, a small hackerspace in Cuba, which was very interesting, concerning, how it was done. And I stayed since then because I enjoyed the movement and got basically fully active and involved. Now, food hacking base, it's an example basically, and I would say introduction also what I do in the hacker movement. You can see on the screen just the basic points. We focus as a group of people who are into the food, drinks, bio, on bringing this to the hacker scene and trying to basically combine, the real ancient knowledge of our ancestors, how they made fermentation and foods, with today's scientific knowledge and technology. So trying to move it forward, respecting the past in the moment, towards the future. We do it through the activities at the international conferences like, MRMCD here, sorry, the MRMC last week, here, at the BalCCon. And we try also promote it in the local hackerspaces, trying to set up, small, kitchens, brewing corners, make the food, for the membership meetings, make the workshops, how to make beer, kombucha, or your sushi, and bringing basically the food, drinks into the hacker movement and trying to use the things which the hackers, basically are known for doing with, Linux, open source, electronics, applying this to the food and drinks, because there are big corporations there basically really sitting on most of the knowledge, patents and everything. And I believe that it would be good, for the hacker community also get involved in this. So this would be the basic. There are few examples, like, we are making for the fermentations, we are building an incubator, so making the PCB board. I have a prototypes here, now doing final programming, so it's kind of, our third generation. Probiotic drinks everywhere. Downstairs, during today, you can try some of our kombucha, so with probiotic drinks. We had a few, actually around close to 200 liters of probiotic drinks at the CCC camp. And we still have some, from that period of time and some new one. So you can come and taste, and things like that. So basically kind of building the community, kind of, making it happen in the hacker scene. Now, Dancing Drops, it's a group which we do with my girlfriend in Korea. Basically, it's Similar thing, but in Korea, and partly it's actually also about the business because we are trying to cover cost of our living. So we do rice beers, going for the markets. We do workshops, things like that. I have been now there for 3.5 years in Korea, and now I will be leaving soon because for me the environment was not very, I would say, friendly concerning doing really stuff in a hacker way and more like open-minded, relaxed, non-hierarchical structures. Korea is several decades behind and concerning social kind of developments, and they are still very strict about like really, especially the hierarchy, and things like that. So anyway, long story short, for nearly 3 years, around 3 years, we have been playing basically what I want to do in Europe, in Korea, and we got some kind of, let's say, results, which I would say definitely the knowledge and experience, and realizing that, for example, for what I want to do, the Experimental Fermentation Center, which basically we did there, and I will introduce, you need to be involved on an everyday basis. I will come to that a bit later on, which means production things, has to be done regularly. Now, just what is it, Experimentation Fermentation Center? In a simple way, words, it's something what is around for thousands of years. Since really ancient times, when people are fermenting, they would be coming together and doing stuff together. That's natural stuff, from making the bread, in ancient Egypt, to making beer in Mesopotamia, meat, even before, This is something what has a long tradition. There are, of course, different models. For Europe, for example, you can think about monasteries. I'm not so sure what is the story, for example, here in Serbia or former Yugoslavia, but in Czech and the Western Europe, you have monasteries which are hundreds years old, and they were basically really promoting and developing art of fermentation, which is what I am really after, in an amazing way. Beers yesterday and day before, who was downstairs, we have been tasting Belgian beers, which are really having hundreds of years of tradition, made by the monks. The recipes were developed by them. They basically did the education, they spread the knowledge around. So for me, amazing, like medieval monastery. In Czech, for example, the Strahov, 1120, first brew around 1300 something. Like, you have 600-700 years of tradition, basically. That's a fermentation center, ancient one, These days, in modern times, you have business-based, academy, non-profit. There are many ways. I was involved with the academy, so I can just talk a little bit about that, where you have a great resources. Academy research has lots of money. It's basically collected by you from your taxes, so either way, it's kind of type of crowdsourcing, even if you don't want it. There are some disadvantages, like I put there, let's say, 10 years. For 10 years, you need to be involved, I would say minimum, to be able to do something. Like, you will not get really green light before then. You will have to work under someone on some other project. So you have to invest quite lots of time, energy, to be around, stick around, to get the permission to do something truly. That's one. Second, the hierarchy. Academy has quite lots of hierarchy and bureaucracy. So that actually, it's killing lots of great scientists. They find out 78% of their time, for example, later on in higher positions, they have to write something for the EU grants, whatever, and they don't do research actually. I like this with the hacker movement, that you can do things much faster. There are not so many resources, that's true. They are building up, you can see that. So the resources are less, but your chance to do something, it's much higher. And especially with the community places, the resources are accumulated, so actually you don't have to buy all the infrastructure, you don't have to be around for several years. You can actually come, and within a few months, you can come up with something and try something, and it's okay. That's actually how hackers like it. So that's something that I really enjoy. And basically I'm trying to do these things, activities, in the hackerspaces, so if you have your electronic lab in your hackerspace, I do believe you can have a nice kind of experimental kitchen which actually can do really cool stuff. So this is more or less, part of that. So just what is it, to describe? From my point of view, experimentation kind of, fermentation center, it's physical and virtual. The physical, you can imagine just kitchen, nicely equipped kitchen with, all that kind of stuff, which you need in the kitchen, like, benches, you have your fire, to make the stuff, you have your low temperature cooking, ovens, whatever, and some things, extra, of course, because you can build them. You will have small biolab, just to check things like, if you want to measure pH or you want to see what type of microbes you have in, you should be able to check it out. So that will be the experimental kind of, spot. There should be definitely the workshop venue. Like in your hackerspace, generally you have some room where you can invite 10, 15 people and do something, teach, learn, hands-on. That same thing, and it can be shared, of course. So, 2 bigger tables where you can get people together and you teach them, for example, basic how you make beer. Within one afternoon, they will learn the basics, and at home, they can kind of repeat by themselves. The virtual part, it's basically sharing it online. You have some wikis, you can have your blogs, you can have, of course, some email, so mailing list, you have IRC channel. So you also spread it and you have a center, so it's easy for people to come and see what's going on, what will be happening, and join if they like. Now, this place is, it's basically a hackerspace. These things should be done in hackerspaces. We like to stay in the movement. They are community run and shared, so that's the usual stuff. You should consider the upkeep of the place and respect the others. If you have a lovely stinky cheese with your friends, not everybody may enjoy it. So keeping an eye on how you respect the other people around, it's important, especially with the food and drinks, because some of them may be quite aggressive. And we had some explosions of fermented drinks, where laptops were destroyed and things like that. And it doesn't add to the spirit of the community. So the food and drinks, they bind people together. The preparation and consumption together around the table, it can sort loads of things. It's done on a daily basis, if you like. So it really keeps the community together and improves the spirit. But if it's done wrongly, it can also make a huge issues, to the point that people would like to try to disassemble kitchen or whatever. So it's both ways, great stuff can be done, but also it can have consequences. So this would be the basic kind of stuff. So kind of, community core and mother means your mother hackerspace should survive your food hacking activities. That's important, because otherwise you are not too, of course. Now, this is, I call it Chihiro, the experimental fermentation network, because it's faster. You may know Spirited Away, Sent to Chihiro no Kamikakushi, movie from Hayao Miyazaki. Chihiro is basically kind of the code name, which I use for the project, because I like the name. Now, what I did in the past, I will just run through that quickly, so I don't lag, not too slow. I got involved with the taste bridge, noise bridge. We did it for half year, basically, in noise bridge. I think great stuff. Brewing, classes every week, preparing, kind of food for the member meetings, every week. So 2-3 days of activities for public. We did events like 5 minutes of talk. Noise Bridge would have one evening, once per month. I think first, Saturday of the month or Thursday, whatever. Hundreds of people will show up. For years, they would keep the tradition. We would make food and drinks for the people who come, all donation-based. You don't have money, it's okay. Just have it, somebody else has. And in this way, we accumulated resources for our activities. So we were basically kind of, cooking, enjoying, doing beers, and stuff from the community resources. Also kind of getting the equipment, which is also very important. We repeated basically the same thing in Online One labs in Galway, in Ireland. Again, half year of basically, doing stuff like that. More for in a beer direction. They basically, actually, by the way, they were one of the first hackerspaces who did, or which did really proper brewing classes later. They got in touch, because of the history they already had. with us. They got in touch with the local brewing shop, and they were running several months of really high quality classes, professional classes for the people for really minimal resources, like 4 weeks for 20 euros, which it's very, very cheap for the Western countries. And you make your beer. You really learn how to make it. You taste it. Really great stuff. Now, we after that did the food hacking base. That was around 2011. Noisebridge was around 2010. 11 food hacking base. So we are running for around 5 years. We are basically at most of this, basically any CCC major events, congress, camps. We are there. And if you see downstairs, that small spot, we have experimental kitchen, workshop venue, biolab. We are running several workshops every day. Workshops are the main one to teach people how to do what to do. And we promote, basically trying to spread it around so people get involved in the hacker movement. They improve their kitchen corners, and we can start to do more things. Because you can see, for example, some of the events, not too many. You can, for example, you have already food included. Like MRMCD, if you participate at MRMCD, you have free access to the food. As an example, it's a smaller event, but for example, for the bigger events, it's harder because there are food vendors and it's harder to do something around that. So we are trying to promote it so we can do more and more without problems, and it's kind of friendly. Now, dancing drops I mentioned, that's active in Korea. Now, quickly, experiment innovative. What should we be doing? If you have something, like if you think about your electronic kind of laboratory in your hackerspace, you try to promote stuff, right? You get your TV Beacon kit, where you can, you teach the kids, how to make it, click and TV is gone. Similar thing, with the fermentations. You build, for example, really experimental incubator. So you play with the electronics, you share the data through the GitHub, you get people involved. We want, bind the community. So trying to really get the hackers community together, because there are sometimes social issues. Hackers are not exactly the most social kind of aware people from time to time. So this kind of being together, doing stuff together, it's, I think, very important. I like applied, so I like stuff being done. One thing which I have to say about the hacker movement, sometimes I have a feel that people like to play a lot, but it's more like a hobby, but at the end the result is not considered so much. In my case, I enjoy playing very much too, but I like to do something that has a practical application. So basically, when I'm really going after something, I want to see it, happen and do something in the real world, which is improving something. Knowledge, better quality life, basically making the world better space. So I like to have, the facts on the ground and things happen at the end and during the time. Now, covering at least part of the living cost, if you want to do stuff, generally you have to cover your living costs. It's a very important part. You can have, of course, your high-paid job somewhere, or you working for someone, whatever, or you can do what you like and cover your cost of living by doing that. I believe in that, and I'm always trying to promote it in a way, seeing hackerspaces, lowering their membership fees so people can actually come and do stuff, even working from the hackerspaces, seeing hacker residencies, popping up so people can go around for the projects, or low-budget hackers. They can come and they can get accommodation for really cheap, so they can stick around and do stuff. So this is a similar thing. I want to do this, and I want to cover my cost of living by doing that. Lowering the cost, doing it together with hackers, and support the similar activities of the others in this way. And yeah, excellent to being excellent to each other. That's the Noisebridge motto, which I like very much. So be excellent to each other as a kind of the basic stone. Now, what should be in? I already mentioned community base. So it's really community stuff, not some private one-person, enterprise. Documentation friendly, you document what you do, that's important. Like we record here, the presentation, you can check it later on, through the wikis, etc. Very nice. There should be, of course, experimental venue, educational venue, that's the workshop, and there should be, of course, some storage capacity, whatever, we will jump on that, that's part of the project. residency if possible, and small-scale production. I would like to be able, for example, to make 2,000 liters of kombucha or beer for the CCC Congress or for the BalCon, come and have it there. So production is important. That's the applied part which I like. Now, there's a picture just for you to enjoy. This is more or less how the food hacking base look like at the CCC camp. These are 5 on 10 meter tents, so quite pretty big. We will probably take around half of this, hall, and we were going non-stop. Cheese tasting, beer tastings, kombucha workshop, hand cream workshops, whatever, for 5 days. Around 10-15 people in the main kind of, group. People coming from all around the campground, enjoying with us, doing stuff together. That's what we do at the camps, congresses, and that's basically what I want to be building in situ somewhere in Europe. So this presentation is about how I can do something like this inside somewhere around Europe and be involved in that project as a main kind of, person for 4 to 6 years, doing what I like and covering cost of that project and my ones. Here it's, just in the words. I have around 14 years experience combined from the academy and hacker movement, fermentation, so all together kind of at it. I want to do this basically with others, so not alone. I'm looking for the people who would be coming and doing this, so that's one of the reasons for the presentation. I'm a little bit sorry that the presentation is a bit dry because I love to do really fun presentation about the fermentation and stuff like that, and this is kind of project presentation, so I have to go through the facts to a degree. So bear with me, we are kind of, I would say, in a 2/3 already. I want to have the strong real world focus, so I want to really make things to promote it around, so these things happen more and more. There are more fermentation centers within the hacker movement, because I like to stay within the hacker movement, so promote that way and see results. Like, better technology of kombucha production, which you can share, for example, with the usual local brewers of kombucha, so their costs are decreasing, they can make more profit, and you promote probiotic drinks and foods through your help with the hacker movement. So, now, I am up to date, I believe. I need resources. I need people spread the word, and I need to find the place where can I do this. If I postulate this, what I'm trying to do in one slide, let's say, I'm trying to establish a community, both in the virtual and physical world, where you can come and learn and apply your knowledge related to the food, the beverages, and bio. Around this thing, I want to make it into the self-sustaining system. So what I come up with during the years of work should be covering its own costs, so it's actually self-sustaining. That's very important. That's actually how one of the things which I really like about the hackerspace is that majority of them is supported through the community and it's independent. It's very important. Now, once this is done, I have a system doing this basically. I want to promote it internationally, both in the Europe, third world countries, wherever I can, and see it be happening more and more, still as much as possible within the hacker movement. Now, first phase. If you don't mind, I will run through the phases because, to be absolutely honest, now I'm preparing for the first phase. There will be second, third, let's say 4 phases, which I will mention, but there's not so much point at the moment to go in detail for the second, third, fourth phase because it will change depending on how it's planned. And that's now, basically. So what's happening now? Now I'm touring Europe with my girlfriend, talking to the people, looking what are the options, what is the economic situation, what would be the best spot to do it. So far, Berlin is really high. We will see about the other places, but probably Berlin would be the place where I would like to start it, but not 100% sure yet. I need, in the first phase, to sit somewhere basically for a year, year and a half, covering expenses or my living expenses through that period and prepare the project. Because what I'm saying, kind of, I do for a long time, but I need to make business proposals, project proposal, and I need to get it out to the foundations, to the people like, basically the supporters, so I can get resources. At this moment, the first phase will be about what I mentioned, the business proposal, project proposal, looking for the place. Preferably, I should be already in the location doing all this where I want to do whole project. I hope for that, but it may be that I will be somewhere else and after it moving to the final location. We will see about that, depending what are, of course, the offers. I would like to do part of this as an academic project, so I would like to do it as a PhD, partly because it's handy concerning your status. If you want to get access to the knowledge around the world and being able to move freely to a degree, PhD academic status, it's very handy. Also, it's for me because I am not the most systematic person on the world, and having basically give out the reports on regular basis to the academy is handy for me. Now, there have to be some newsletters, portals, things which we already have. If you go for foodhackingbase.org, you will see most of these things already kind of, starting to be established there. We have the wikis, we have our blog, we have our mailing list, we have our IRC, things which you have around the hackerspace. Some of the things I will be establishing for this project as part of the food hacking base, but independent. It will be not food hacking base only. It will be kind of, related. Because I do not want to clash two groups, one of non-profit and fund and hobby, whatever, and one which will have some basically money focus because we will need to get resources. So there will be independence. Yeah, I do believe within 1 year, 1.5 years, I will be done with what I need, preparing basically the resources for the next few years. And I will need, I would say, 20 to 30,000 euros per year, year and a half, if I do not get any special options, like, cut down on accommodation because you are living with some, hacker residency, etc., and it can be half. But that depends what I can find. But I can imagine in the Western Europe, 1,200, 1,500 euro, if you want to be able to go a bit around for the congresses, conferences, and do stuff, that's more or less the minimum. Lower than that, in Germany, for example, you will run into the troubles. This is just things which I want to accomplish. I already basically mentioned them, so I think we can quickly go over it. Yeah, going around for the conferences, use it on one place for quite a while to make it. And ways of sourcing, I should mention that. I like diversity of resources. So it should be basically some money from my personal kind of, funds, which are low, but some. Community support, so some crowdsourcing, and definitely some patrons. So I will be looking for some people who I respect, and they are respected concerning their ways, how they got, for example, their resources. Like, I don't want to have, for example, money from DARPA or some, army-based, group. I would like to have a clean resources, and I will combine this. Now, this is the second phase. Basically, this is the moment when I have the location where I want to make this. If you imagine this hall, whole hall, I think it's a bit too big, but something like that, if I can get this and make there the experimental kind of kitchen, let's say brewing place, workshop venue, and of course production, that would be perfect. And this will be the time when I will be doing that. Within 1 year, I want to build it and start to make it happen. I have done this basically in different levels for 4 times already. So that's basically what I'm doing for the last 6-7 years in different places. So it's possible. 1 year, it's short, but doable. You need money, of course, for the build-up, for your running costs, and for your own personal expenses. I will need within this time, of course, have all the resources for the next few years, because this project will take minimum 5 to 6 years. I expect 4 to 6 years, this will take to make it happen. So this here we will build and make the place already efficient, so you can run stuff. You can start to do your workshops, you can start to run your experiments. As I said, for example, kind of developing new ways of kombucha or new ways of beer brewing, spreading it around. So building, and starting to use it. Because if you don't start to use it, you will not know if it functions or not. So you have to start to use the spot, get a community, get the people in, have your workshops every week, 3, 4 workshops, promotion, going for the congresses, and make it happen. This will be very busy period. This is basically the results of what I expect at the end of the second phase, that let's say second and a half year to be done. It's operating, water is running, electricity is running, there's everything what you need, storage capacity is there, you use it. You are running experimentation experiments and you do the workshops. Production facility completed, that's a big one. It may be not possible for the ones who are into the food or drink. Production facility may be separated, or I may have to collaborate with someone, because making legally food or drinks in EU, it's difficult. And it may be a killer for the project. So I may have to wait for this one a bit or collaborate with someone. So either together, but if I could have it done within this time, it would be perfect, it would be beautiful. Academic report, I will have to hand it in, so I see how I'm moving forward, because otherwise I know myself. And I would like to see if we can have some hacker residency option. This is especially reason for the fermentation people. If you do fermentations, you need time. Like I cannot make you beer, in one day, or kombucha, or wine. You need days or weeks or months. So if somebody is supposed to come for a project and, for example, say, okay, I want to do this, in Central America, I have a place, I need the knowledge. Then basically, I want to make kefir, water kefir, kombucha, drinks and foods. Can you show me? Yeah, I can. I need 3 months. Or you need 3 months, to be around, to really do it in a proper way, so I know you come back and you can do it. So you need more time. And I think it's similar with, actually hacker projects too. You don't do things, within 24 hours. You can, but you need to learn, you need to apply, so you need generally at least weeks or months. So hacker residency would be great, but again, it's not the core. It would be handy, very handy, but yeah, we will see. I will have to cover, of course, the yearly budget from different resources, and that will be interesting. Here again, this is basically the results, of the the aim for the third phase. So first phase, preparation and project, kind of development. Second phase, make it happen. Physically building it in the place and running that, starting to run it. The third phase is basically the running. 2-3 years of workshops, of all the stuff which you can imagine around fermentation, going on and on the daily basis. So you have to really stick around, and this is the time when actually you finally can do what you wanted. This is the part where you really harvest, because before it's basically build up. Preparation, build up, 2 to 3 years may take. And this is basically the 2 to 3 years when you are doing the things and showing, okay, this works, this doesn't, what to do next. You will be, of course, running around Europe for the bigger events, trying to, get the food, to the event like this, for example, so there's a free kind of food, for example, for the event from different resources, things like that. Of course, you will be, all what I'm mentioning here. International collaboration. You are trying to collaborate because people need to see, and also you need basically input. You need to see kind of, okay, I'm doing this. They are starting to do similar thing, what works, what doesn't. Ideas, like with the hackerspaces. Many new ideas coming away which you don't expect. That's something what is very important, and I want to have it there, of course. If possible, hacker residency set up, and of course, continuing with the academy reports. Yearly budget. This is basically a guess. Like, you take a hackerspace in Western Europe, 20 to 50 members, let's say, you will be running around 800 to 1,200 euros per month. That's the basic. If you add at least one person, living expenses, you have your basic, 15,000, another 15,000, on 30. So it's kind of, we will see. If I get someone, for example, and there are projects, somebody comes say, okay, you can have this place for 5 years, do whatever you like, no rent, just cover electricity and water, voila. Like it's half. But it depends. So this was the third phase where I do stuff. And this is the final phase. This is basically when I'm closing up. So you can see already there's basically already close to 6 years, 5 to 7 years. You have a model, you establish model where you are doing things, you are getting money from the membership fees, some crowdsourcing campaigns, some production, some international events where you have stuff and you kind of get few thousand euros, for example, from the event. You bring it in and you keep your basic budget stable. So you know that you can get that. Of course, there's a variety of funding, so it will have to be flexible, like around the hackerspaces. So you have sustaining project which has 40, 60,000 yearly. I can guess something like that. That's really the money which are going through. It's, I think, quite usual. To be honest, maybe too low. We will see. You have to have, because you are finishing up, your budgets covered. So whatever you are doing, you should now find out that you are not, 50,000 euros in minus, but you are basically reaching the level that, okay, the project is kind of, covered and it's can go forward. And you have future goals set because you'll be moving out, like 4 to 6 years is a long time. I will be around 40 in that time. So it's time to kind of move on and the future goals, of course, should be set. This is a small timeline. First, second, third, and fourth phase, basically. You can see if you just quickly check it out, 1.5 years basic preparation, 1 year making it happen, so it actually exists. 2 to 3 years running that, and another 1 to 2 years putting together, having your PhD thesis done, having it, online, really properly documented, all comes together. The budget, maybe 200, 250,000 euros for 6 years, I can imagine. It can be lower, but it will be not 100. I'm quite sure about that. So it's kind of, it will cost. And I will have to find the resources for that with the help of whoever can. So 6 years, 2016, 2021. So next year basically starting. Already working on that now. The budget is here. And of course the total benefit of the project is priceless. Because it's something what I want to do. I have been doing this for a long time. In a less systematic way than I would like to all around the world. But now I want to find a spot. The base. You can see through the food hacking base, which we did together with other people, that it actually functions to a degree, but it has to be improved. And especially the part which I need is to get more resources for also living expenses. Because as long as you do not sort this out, don't cover this, then you have to do something else and you are starting to waste your time. Lose your time. Instead of doing it to what you want, you have to put it in something else to get the money. Now, this is the last slide. I hope we will have some time for the discussion still, because I was a bit, that Rakia really kind of put me down, so sorry for the less energy. These are the contacts which you can see later on also on the internet, etc. I would like to thank to Food Hacking Base group and our project, because that's basically what make my life very happy in the last several years, and also made it possible to come here. And I would like to also thank to Hermes, which is actually a foundation. My friend is working there, and he got me to Europe and back with my girlfriend, covering the flight tickets, because otherwise I may not be here. So I would like to thank to them and everybody who comes, enjoys Food Hacking Base, and I hope to see you at the CCC camps, congresses, hopefully in BalCCon for the 2016. So fourth, I think, year. And thank you. Thank you for coming. And I open the discussion for talking about the ideas and the project. Okay? Thank you. Number one. Who is the number one? There has to be number one. How much time do we have? 5 minutes. Beautiful. Number one. Give me a question. Come on. I believe you were listening. At least one question. Two. Huh? Nobody into fermentation, food and drinks? Okay. There's a microphone, so everybody hears.
It's more like a brain fart maybe, but in how far do you also want to combine your project with other projects that may not be so much into fermentation, but still in more ecological kind of projects? Because I know that nearby there is actually a place called Kremski-Karlovci, and there's for about a year or so there's a big ecological center there, but they're also very much into self-sustaining ideas, just not so much into food as far as I know. Could it be an option to combine your project, for instance, with what they are doing there, either in that you could supply them with stuff or knowledge? Do you have any ambitions in that direction?
Where is this place which you mentioned?
Kremski-Karlovci, it's about 20 kilometers south from here.
Yeah. Concerning this, basically my main, I want to stay as a main movement within the hacker movement, but I was always trying to basically bring the slow food, let's say the sustainable development, that type of people together with the hackers, which is very hard sometimes, especially with the slow food. Yeah. But I do have ambition in this direction because I don't think all of the resources should come from the hacker movement. And actually, logically, this project will be a lot local. Like I will be based somewhere, and I talk a lot about international collaboration, but I will be educating people who, many of them, they don't have a clue about the hacker movement. So but they would like to make their beer, and things like that. So, making also products, because the product production is really important for the local community and maybe some, higher kind of value stuff. So big part of this should be combined, through some resources which are not directly from the hacker movement. Because it will be doing both. It will be in the hacker movement, but with a local kind of real appliance. Ecological centers are one of the possibilities, things like that. I have seen it around, but I need to get in touch with the place, basically, and this is what I need to do within that year and a half of preparation, see what I can get. See basically how I can collaborate, but still, definitely I want to keep some independence because I had bad experience in Korea concerning these activities, and I need to see the core kind of, not too many strings attached. That's like with hackerspaces. But yeah, this is something what I hope to collaborate and with some already established institutions. Yeah.
We'll have a talk later.
Next question, maybe one more, and that's I think it, because the time is running. If you have more questions, of course, you can come downstairs. My girlfriend made kimbap. Maybe still it's there, maybe not, it depends. I hope it is. And there will be drinks, probiotic drinks downstairs. So who didn't try, and you probably didn't try my kombucha yet, I will be now giving you kombucha, which was made for the CCC camp. And the bottles which didn't explode, we'll have now. Okay? Thank you very much. Yep.